Hi everyone. I hope it's not a little bit too confusing, the fact that I'm day late, or so it appears, but it was a scheduled day late because of the fact that we launched our Seasons Club, our Autumn Seasons Club last night. So it made sense to wait until after it launched where I could talk to you and give you a little bit more details about what was going on, rather than causing frustration, because when I sit here and I spend ages talking about something and then go, oh, it's not there yet, it can be very frustrating. So by waiting a day, I can say it's all live over on the website now. So it is. So if you have been waiting for the Autumn Seasons Club, now is the time to jump over. There's a link on the front page and the home page. So if you just hop into stolenstitches.com, you can find it in there. But if you had been looking at it and you were confused about something, or you wanted some more details, this is the spot to be, because I'm going to talk a little bit more about what the Seasons Club is and maybe show some of the different colours for each of the colour options. If you have any questions, you can pop them up along there. And I may also, I've got over next to me here again, I have got the Hawthorn sweater, which we launched last week, our autumn knit along, or the pre-sale for the autumn knit along. There were a couple of questions on that, so I will talk a small bit about that as well. We've had a very busy day today. Today's my birthday, woohoo! So it's birthday Friday. So another reason to, go ahead and delay a day is that I get to talk to you all on my birthday. We're not a big birthday family in our house. It takes a couple of hours for anyone to remember and send me a message, and everyone feels like that's my present. The fact that the birthday got remembered. It's like, I remembered your birthday. Aren't I great? I'm like, yes, you're wonderful. But it's not really a very big deal. It is. I'm just always kind of curious to see if anyone's going to remember. So I feel like I need to have a little spot prize for who actually remembers first. And then it starts the cascade effect. Like, oh, it's your birthday, Mum. I didn't. But we'll get a nice takeaway tonight. Laura gave me a really nice bottle of wine and some very, very sumptuous chocolate cake, which I may have eaten too much and feeling just vaguely queasy, but it was extremely tasty, but very filling. So if you like chocolate cake, Laura is your connection, because she knows the best chocolate cake in Cork. So she's the person to go to get some recommendations. Do be warned, it's extremely filling. So what I want to talk to you about today, as well as it being my birthday, is the fact that the Seasons Club has launched. This is our second year for the Seasons Club. If you've joined last year, you know what it's all about, but maybe you want to get a little bit more details on what's going on in the Seasons Club. If you're new and you're kind of like wondering what I'm talking about, I'm going to just explain a little bit more about what it is, what it's about, what it includes, what it doesn't include. So it is a seasonal one where it comes out every quarter. So the first one is in September, 3 months will be the winter one, and then you roll on through the year. And you've got, if you're not really sure if you want to commit or you like to be able to jump in and out of things, you can go in and just get a once-off installment, and that's all there is involved. If you really like the idea of having a quarterly delivery with all of the goodies that come with it, you can subscribe, and every quarter it will renew. And there's a 5% discount when you subscribe, and you'll get everything as when the next club comes out, you'll get an early email giving you details of the colors for each of the options in the next one, so that you can swap colors around in the back end if you want to switch between them. Because the 3 color options in the yarns that we go for is, because it's one that needs to kind of accommodate each of the seasons, they're fairly general. We've got a seasonal one where we pick a color that we feel matches well with the season, so it's kind of like it says in the tin. The next one is subtle, so there would tend to be slightly less, it should just be a lighter contrast, nothing too bright in that one. And then the brights is the opposite of that, it's the brighter option. It's probably going to be that as each season rolls through and different colors come in, you may find that certain types of brights or certain types of subtle may appeal to you, and you might end up swapping around between those with each season. But it's all very easy to do that in the back end. So the first thing you will get is the yarn. This season it's going to be new worsted, and you get 6 skeins, and there's a variety of colors that come. So the project is going to be there'll be 2 patterns, but the actual pattern is going to be a surprise until it's launched. I can tell you a good bit about them. One's designed by me, the other one is designed by Emer Early. They're both accessory projects, so they're not going to be like full garments or anything like that, but they're accessories that will be appropriate for the autumn season. And they both involve colour work, and they're inspired by the season. So when we were kind of talking in the background about seasons and about clubs, we really like to I can see Laura's just jumped in, and it's a perfect timing because this one really was guided by Laura, because Laura was very involved in gardening before she joined us here. And so she was very interested in kind of having one of the themes for this year is the wild fauna of Ireland, wildflowers of Ireland. And, the fruits and all of that whole side of the Irish countryside and the seasonal changes. So the first season, the autumn one, you'll probably see we've got a lot of photographs of, we've got blackberries, there's kind of dying off bracken and leaves and things like that. And so that is very much inspiring where we're going with this season. So like the colours would lean themselves to that. The projects are going to have inspiration taken from that. So, and each of the seasons we will move through the different type of wild flora and wildflowers that are available for each of the seasons that will be appropriate as we move along. So it's like having a little bit of Ireland dropped into your door, or the fauna of Ireland anyway. So that's the patterns and the inspiration and the yarn that comes with it. If you haven't joined in with one before, you may be a little intimidated if perhaps some of the techniques are ones that are new to you, but it is designed for somebody who has not necessarily done that type of project before. So it's a way of exploring new techniques, of expanding your knitting horizons and trying new things out in a very supportive or, an easy to learn way. Because all of the patterns, I'll be working through them in the back end with you in our Teachable classes, where we'll have videos for every section of the class. So as I'm casting on, I'll show you the casting I'm using, why I'm using, and whether you might want to swap around for a different one. And then in case of the colour work, I'm going to talk a little bit about colour work theory, colour dominance, different ways you can hold your yarn, working in the round. Again, variety of whether you want to use smaller circular, magic loop, double pointed needles, and just talking around the topic in each decision that you'll make as you work your way along. So that, I think, is really helpful if you're a new knitter, or even if you're self-taught and you'd like to see different ways of doing it, or just even just to talk around subjects and realize that there's a variety of ways of approaching the same topic or the same technique. There's no right or wrong. It's really more a matter of experimenting to find out what ones work well for you, or if it might sometimes even make you go, oh, she does it exactly the same way as me and I love doing it that way, I'm going to leave it. Or if there's something, like for me, what ends up happening is there's often areas where I'll do a technique or whatever it might be a certain way, but it's annoying me because I know it's either awkward to do it or it's not as good as it can be. And then it's accidentally, I'll come across another way of doing it, and I find it really, really helpful because it's like, oh, that solves a problem that I knew was there but never really looked at. So looking at videos and talking about techniques, I think sometimes can help with that, is that it can kind of expand your horizons and open the possibility of different ways of looking at things or doing things. So that would all we talk about that in the videos. There's going to be a Zoom launch party where you can, again, if you're coming in and there's a particular topic that you want more details on, or perhaps you want to ask about swapping one colour out for another and whether it would work and all that kind of stuff, we can look at that in the Zoom launch party. You can just come with your questions, send them in beforehand, and I can answer them directly for you. So this is all part of the whole package of the Seasons Club. And the other thing that you get in your package, as well as the yarn, is we'll have a seasonal tea, and there's always a special crafty goodie from Ireland that it changes with each season, and we spend a lot of time finding something that we think is really interesting, useful, and just a nice product that enhances your whole experience. Not necessarily knitting related, it's often more household or something peripheral. So sometimes knitting, but more often than not, it's just something else crafty wise from Ireland. So that's kind of how the club works. It is open now. It is only open for 2 weeks. It'll be closed, I think, I must double check. I think it's the 14th. It will be up when it closes up. We've got fairly good selection of most colours. The seasonal, we've got a slight limit because the Dare You colour, which was in for the Hawthorn knit along, was very, very popular for Hawthorn. So we've wiped our distributor out. So we've now earmarked a certain amount of those for the seasonal club. So once those are gone, they will be gone. So just to be aware that if it's the seasonal colour you're interested in, that's the only one with a limitation. There is still plenty available, but there is a slight limitation on that one, just to be aware if you're really interested in the seasonal colour. How do you sign up? You can just jump onto my website, and there's actually a banner right in the front of the homepage, and just click into the Seasons Club. You can either get if you just want the one season, you can just click the individual product and purchase it like you would anything else. Or if you want to subscribe, then you will just subscribe, and it just goes into a subscription that rolls over every 3 months. It's open for the next 2 weeks, but it will ship in October. I believe it's the 10th of October. The dates would all be in the PDF, the welcome PDF you get. So I think it's from the 10th of October. We'll begin shipping that week, and then the 21st of October, the patterns will come out. So there's kind of a little window in between the two there, where after you subscribe. Didn't you? Some of you subscribed last week. Yes, anyone who was on a rolling subscription, if your subscription, some of them rolled over at the end of last week, so you're all set. You don't have to jump in. You are already in the plan and ready to go. So that's the whole thing with the subscription. Some of those end up rolling over early, which means that it makes sure that I can ensure that you get the colour options you want, because you've got enough time to change them before the rest are purchased. So it's a good way of making sure that subscribers get their choice of colour options. So now for the colour options, here, this is our first one here. We've got our seasonal options, where there's 4 different colours. There will be another 2 skeins as well. So there's 4 in total, and then there's 2 of these will have 2 extra colours. So we have Drift Lass, this green light, or mid-colour green, Dare You, which was the same one from the knit along, Chalk and Plum, which is a purpley colour, and the one we have here is Kitten Fluff. So as you can probably see from these two, these are definitely super berry colours. Like this to me is like that's definitely, you know, when a squished blackberry, there's blackberries everywhere at the moment, very much blackberry colorations. We've got our leaves. So you can probably see how we ended up pulling this lot in for our seasonal. So the next one up is, this one is the subtle colours, where we've kind of gone more from the slightly darker end of things. The website stolenstitches.com is where is the website that you'll get the Seasons Club on. So we've gone for kind of the slightly darker end of the range for the subtle colours here, where it's more kind of the bracken, and as things are dying off, with a little slight brightness here. This is our Sea Veggies, darker green. This is a kind of a beigey light brown colour. That's our Bare Necessities. Copple is a slightly deeper brown. This is Rolling Bales. And finally, we've got our Cerebellum. So you can see with these, with colour work, that you've got a mix of darker and lighter colours, which of course is really important for colour work, that you want that nice contrast between light and dark, or you're not going to be able to get those colours really popping. So even with the subtle, you do need lights and darks to make sure it works well for you, and you're going to see the patterns. So that's the subtle one. And the final one down here is our brights. And you can see we've got a lot more brights together here. They're not all used together in each of the patterns. So like when you see them all here, it does look like a lot of colour. But you can see that like when some are pulled out, or other ones are pulled out to the side here, that it's bright, but it's not all of them mixed together, because there will be 2 patterns. So you've got This is Frog on the Wall, which is otherwise known as grello, mixture between green and yellow. Got one of my favorites, Cafe Flamingo, this lovely, lovely deep pink purpley color. Chalk and Plum again, which was also featured in the seasonal one. And the final one is, Harvest Moon. So we're kind of into the autumn harvest here. So you can see how the colors, again, we've got some lights, we've got some darks, and you got a nice bit of contrast going on in each of those. So this is your bright selection. So that's each of them together. If you haven't come across the newer worsted before, it's merino, yak, and linen. So 60% merino, 20% yak, and 20% linen. And if you heard me last week, you'd probably have heard me talk about the fact that the little flecks running through it here are the linen, which dyes differently from the other two because it's a plant fiber rather than an animal fiber. So it takes the dye differently and looks very tweedy when you're knitting it. But it is super soft yarn because of the fact that you've got both merino and yak are very soft. So definitely next to the skin soft. Most people find this very comfortable next to the skin, unless you basically can't wear any wool next to it. But it is a soft wool, I promise. So that is probably, I think, most of what you need to know about the Seasons Club covered. If there's any other questions, just pop them up here. I will, when I'm finished, will pop another link into my stories, just linking directly to the website, and I'll put just the name of it up along at the bottom here to make sure that you can find it. I also want to pull in my Hawthorn sweater because there was a couple of questions about modifications that I had that I thought I might answer a little bit just with the sweater here in front of me. So I'll pull the Hawthorn sweater in. I'm going to put her over here, and I'll tuck me to the side here. Here, I'll tuck my... That's not too bad now. So most of the questions I had were in relation to the body and the hips. So with the hips here, can you see that? Let me tilt this down a little. Here we go, down a bit further. So there's quite a wide split going down from the Hawthorn down the side here. And I like the way that works. I feel like if you've got wider hips, it's very accommodating because you don't have to worry about doing increases. The split itself is going to accommodate your hips. If you do not want this wider split or you want to get rid of it entirely, then it would just be a matter of, instead of starting with the 2 flat, just the stitch count that you need from this one here, you'll start there, do a little bit of ribbing, and then work straight on in the round. Or alternatively, if you just want a shorter split, it would just be, again, a matter of shortening the amount of separation that you did and then just joining it sooner. But because it's done from the bottom up, it's very straightforward to actually make those changes as you need if you want to. Other question I got was in terms of body shaping and being able to change the shape of the body. So this is done straight down, so there's no shaping in the actual body of it. It's mainly because when I do oversized like this, I find that it doesn't really need shaping because it's not designed to be a fitted piece, particularly with the split in the side. So for that reason, I wouldn't do something where it kind of went in at the waist and out again. If you want to introduce shaping, the only one I think that might work with this would be A-line, where you started wider at the hips and then you decreased coming up to the bust. To do that, you'd probably do it along the sides here, where just see this double, turn it again. The mistake rib goes up the side here, but on each side of that you could do it. And if you did a double one, it's going to maintain the pattern because, with the sand stitch, it's a 2-stitch pattern repeat. So if you do 2 decreases at the same time, you're never going to get out of pattern because it will always remain the same. You're just taking an entire stitch pattern repeat with 2 stitches out. So once you do it that way, you should have no problem doing the decreases. Again, I don't entirely think it's necessary, but if you have a very big differentiation between your hips and your bust, that might be something that's quite important to you and you might be much happier with the fit like that. So it can be done and it shouldn't be very difficult. It would just be a matter of popping in here. Probably put a little line in the pattern itself when I'm putting out the pattern notes in terms of possible modifications and just giving a line of decreases where you could do that. So there's plenty of possibilities for modifying it to make it your own really. Once you know your own body size and how you like to wear things, then you can make the modifications as you're going through with it basically. So that's, I think, it for me today. We've given you a fairly good overview of the Seasons Club, and I've kind of talked a little bit about this. The other thing in relation to this, from colour point of view, I did have, I had been talking about the fact that this colour is out of stock in the kits now, but ones that are proving very popular that I think are, let me find it, so they're also equally lovely. The Chalk and Plum is really, really nice with it. I know the Autumn Harvest, is that right? Harvest Moon is also a really, really nice option for it. I'm also really partial to the darker ones. I think that the Late Night Blues in this, or even Unexpected Macaw, would be gorgeous in that colour. So I think, I might have some of these over here. Got a big box of wool. Here we go. This is the Late Night Blues. Let me show you here. So it's like a deep indigo, and I think that would be gorgeous with it. Or if you prefer slightly lighter, Unexpected Macaw would also be very, very good. So if you tend to go for denim-y colours, Late Night Blues and Unexpected Macaw are a really great option. Or again, if you prefer woollier yarns or 100% wool rather than a mix, Blosta will work very, very well with this too. So you might take a look at the yardage in that, and Blosta would be a great idea. I'm going to actually get a second sample knit up in Leah in Blosta, which is the grey, because I think it's going to look very, very well on that as well. And I love seeing patterns in a couple of yarns so that you've got options as to how to swap back and forth, and you know what it looks like and things like that. But Blosta also works very well in textured stitch patterns, so anything that really allows that texture to shine is going to work well. So have fun with your planning for the hawthorn, or deciding your colours for the seasons, and I'll see you next week. We'll be back to Thursday next week. Friday was just a once off for the Seasons Club, so I'll see you then. Bye.